Now this could only happen to a guy like me, and only happen in a town like this'n. So may I say to City Hall most desperately, and hope that someone there is gonna listen. This is my kind of slum. Anchorage is my kind of slum. Anchorage has all kinds of people too. People who beg from you, and each time I roam, Anchorage is calling me home. Anchorage is why I just can't keep food down. It's my kind of town. It's my kind of dumb. Anchorage is my kind of dumb. Anchorage is my kind of razzmatazz. More homeless camps than Fairbanks has, and each time I leave Anchorage, you double in sleeves. Anchorage has the Sullivan Arena that smells like an unwashed stockyard. Anchorage is one town that's always run down. It's my kind of town. Anchorage, it's Anchorage. Hello, and thank you, Blue Eyes there. You look more like Bela Lugosi than anybody. If you ever saw Bela in a fedora, that's probably what he looked like. Before we go too far into this, in case you hadn't figured it out, this week's topic is the homeless issue. Folks, we got some major problems there. We need to find a solution for them. Real solutions, not what we've been seeing. Before we go into it, though, I want to say that last little bit there was a little lighthearted look at the homeless issue here in Anchorage, or there in Anchorage. I live in Palmer, but we have the same issues here. It's a serious issue. I'm not okay with it. There are people that are there who are actually destitute, and they're actually destitute, not just pretending to be because they're bums, because there are those who are there because of circumstances outside of their control. Something that you have to remember, and something that I always remind myself of, every person you see out there is precious to someone. Every person that you see out there was an answered prayer of some expectant father or mother. The guy that stood up and said, "Lord, please give me a son," and then this guy is born, and then they fall onto these kind of times. So never look down your nose at them. Old Hank Williams Sr., he sang a song called "These Men with Broken Hearts." If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. But there are those that are there just because they want to be bums. just because they simply don't want to work. And this COVID scam that they had going on for the last couple of years, that really didn't help a thing. That caused people to realize, man, if I just don't want to work, I don't have to. And they've used up all the unemployment. And now they're having to return to work and they refuse to do it. So they're like, well, I'll just go on the bum. We got problems, folks, real problems. Nobody's really fixing anything. We'll talk about that as we roll along. But remember, pride is an abomination. We talk about things that are abominations in the eyes of God. So is your pride. So is mine. I'm not talking about, taking pride in the way you look, and taking pride in a job well done. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't think that's what the Bible is talking about. I think he's talking about, well, I'm better than that guy over there. Remember the Pharisee? Thank you, God, that I'm so much better than this dirty tax collector over here. Remember that parable? Think about it. There was a time when Anchorage was a beautiful city, and we loved it. It was an amazing city at one time. I remember, wild about Anchorage, it's a marvelous time, whatever. I don't remember the exact words, but I watched that little cartoon every now and then, that little commercial, because there was a time when we were wild about Anchorage, but not so much anymore. And that was back in the frontier days, but it was a more respectful city back in those days. And we got to get it back, folks. I don't know that we can, but we sure enough can't get it back unless we start trying. That makes sense? I was in the city of Medellin, or as they say down there, Medellin in Colombia, with the lovely Caterine here a few months ago. And I was struck by how clean that city is. We went to the mall. We went to 3 or 4 malls there. Huge malls, bustling with activity. People going about their business, working, making a living, and smiles on their faces, and the place was so clean you could literally eat off the floor. I took pictures of the bathroom because it was so clean. And it smelled clean. It didn't stink. You think of Medellin and you think of the bad old days with the cocaine trade and all that stuff. Man, it ain't like that anymore. Catherine and I, we would sit and sip coffee in the morning and watch the city come to life. And I thought, I remember when Anchorage was like this. Them days are over. I've got a whiny computer here, and I keep having to move my microphone so you don't hear through the whole blog there. But I remember when Anchorage was a bustling city and when the people were working. You remember back in the early 80s, late 70s time frame when everybody ran a janitorial service because that's where the money was? There was a lot of money in that stuff back then. But at some point, we just gave up on ourselves. Anchorage, you gave up on yourself. You say, well, I live in a house up on the hill. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm sincerely happy for you that you can afford that. You worked hard to get there. And there are people living down in the lowlands that they're not doing so great, but they're striving. They're striving to stay ahead of the power curve. Then you've got people that are destitute because, mental problems, emotional problems, that kind of stuff. And then you have a lot of people that are destitute because they're bums and they just don't want to work. We're going to talk about both those categories as we roll along. Officially, there are about 1,100 homeless people living in Anchorage. I say there are a lot more because you can hardly drive into town without having to dodge them. Or anywhere you go, there they are. I drove into town one day and I was going down, I believe it's 3rd or Commercial, one of the areas over there. And I'm driving along and I look over here and there's, I guess it was a guy, I don't know, face down, his pants down around his knees, and just laying there asleep. Folks, you deserve better than this. You pay taxes in Anchorage. You deserve better than to have to put up with that kind of stuff. It is. I saw one estimation that believes there could be as many as 10,000 homeless people living in the city of Anchorage or in the municipality of Anchorage. And if there are 10,000, that means 1 out of every 30 people living in that town is a homeless person living on the street. I remember back in the early 80s, you'd have homeless people. They'd climb into a dumpster, start a fire, pass out from smoke inhalation and die, and they'd go pick up the dumpster the next day and a frozen homeless person would flop out into the back of their truck. So that's when they started putting locks on them, and plus to keep the bears out. There's needles everywhere you look. You walk up and down the street, you're stepping over their defecation pile, and you smell their urine everywhere because they just don't care. And then say, well, these people are mentally handicapped. That's true. There are those out there. And we need to get help to those people. But you got these people that's like, what are you going to do about it? Now, I'll just stand here and scream in your face. I'll get aggressive and try to make you give me your money. Mr. Mayor and City Council, the people are sick and tired of it. And we're sick and tired of you not doing anything. And don't tell me you are. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I'll lose half of this audience. Boy, I'm narrowing it down quickly, aren't I? I see just how many people I got anger. Ain't none of you clean. I heard a guy saying, well, I don't like being in shelter. So he stays out in a tent all winter and freezes. I'll tell you what, I'd rather be uncomfortable and living in a shelter than being freezing to death and being uncomfortable. I may not die from living in the same room with some guy I might not like that much. There were times I lived in the barracks with people I wasn't that crazy about. But you still did it, and you knew you had 3 hots and a cot. Think about that, folks. I had a brother who recently died, and I've talked about that a few times. He was diabetic, and he so much so that he lost his big toe on his right foot. Then they cut off the lower half of his, his left leg halfway between the knee and the foot. They cut it off, and he had a very bad prosthetic that the VA gave him that kept falling off. But the worst thing is he started losing his mind, and towards the end he was so far gone he could barely recognize his own brother, and I'm the only brother. We were the only brothers either of us had left. But he had 3 hots and a cot. It wasn't ideal conditions. He lived in a care home, a care facility. And I went to visit him there, and the smell was, what you'd expect to smell there. But at least he wasn't living out in the woods and freezing to death. When I was a young paratrooper, we used to come to town, often, but definitely on Friday and Saturday night. And you'd come into town, you'd see a homeless person or two, but not like you do now. Now they go in droves. You see them everywhere you look. And not only do you see them, they are encamped all over the place. In that video that you just saw, I'm the one that took that video, and that's right over there by Mountain View. I would imagine there's got to be 200 people living right in there. And the city isn't doing anything. The cops aren't doing anything because they can't do anything because the courts won't back them up. You people on the city council won't back them up. You leave them out to dry. So you have these bums there infesting that neighborhood. I remember when Mountain View was a good neighborhood. Now look at it. What's your excuse, Anchorage? And I'm talking to the government there. I drove into town, coming down 5th Avenue on my way to work, and I was right by Office Depot, and there's a guy laying there on the sidewalk asleep, I assume. He wasn't just laying on the sidewalk, and he wasn't just wrapped up in a sleeping bag. He had a mattress off of a bed laying there up against the wall at Office Depot like he owned the place. Just snoozing away. They're so in your face, and their attitude is one of, you can't do anything about it, so I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And they're right. Because we've allowed it to happen. We've allowed us to get to this point. And it's for us to get us back from this point. Do you have what it takes to do it? I wonder. I had a detachment commander, and I won't mention his name because I don't know what he's doing right now. But I was telling him how I felt about the officer corps. I said, they just don't care. And they don't care if they destroy some NCO's career or whatever. I don't remember what the situation was, but he said, Waldo, which is my nickname my whole career, he said, it's not that they don't care. He said, they care. He said, but it's like when you're driving down the road and a dog walks out and you hit it with your car, you care, but he got in the way. And in that statement, he said volumes. He spoke volumes. And folks, your people in city government, they're that captain. And these homeless people are that dog. They care, but not enough to really do anything. They care just enough to do enough to better their career. If you're an exception to this, step up onto my side. Come here and sit beside me, and we'll talk about it. I bet you won't. I bet none of you will. Not at the city level there, here in Palmer, anywhere. If I'm wrong, I hope you prove me wrong. You won't. I saw somewhere that it's estimated there are about between 180, 200, literally, honest to goodness, destitute people living on the streets in Anchorage. And by that I mean people who they've got mental problems or they've got some issue that's keeping them there. And there are some that have fallen on to very hard times. I know what it feels like to be homeless. I was homeless for a very short while, a couple of days, and I was able to, by the grace of God, and with the help of someone who was willing to put me to work very quickly, to work my way out of it. And I've never looked back. And my situation has improved vastly. But I know what it feels like. And I know what it feels like to be tossed aside. I've been there. And that's why I'm so adamant about the things that I do and say now. But these 120 or 180 to 200 people, that's not that many. We can do something with that. But when you have 10,000 people, it's time for you people in city government to stop playing your stupid little childish games of blaming the other and do something. But you won't. And you people that vote for them, you won't either. You just proved that the other day. Earlier this month, you proved you're perfectly fine with this. Hate me? Go ahead. I always say, I don't mind if people hate me as long as they're the right ones. Hate me for the right reasons. There are these people who are truly destitute. Those are the ones that I'm concerned with. These other people, I want them off our streets, and I don't care what you have to do it within the law. You got people that are drug addicts. Say, well, they've got problems, Bruce. I understand that. And I can't say that I understand what it feels like to... Here's my little secret. I've never been drunk and I've never been stoned. I've never even smoked a whole cigarette. These people have those issues. But here's the problem. When I was in the military, I had a lot of friends. Come on, Waldo, let's go get drunk. Let's go do this. And I was like, no, that ain't my bag, man. That's not my trip, as Doug Clifford said. Or, I'm sorry, Stu Cook from CCR said, that's not our trip. We're not into that trip. So they'd go, and they kept trying me, go out and let's have a party. I was like, no, man, that ain't my thing, and I never did. I'd go out and pick them up, and I'd go sometimes and party with them, but I wouldn't drink. And nobody could pressure me into it, you see. But you people out there, well, I'm like this because of drugs, and I'm like this, but you know what? I'm getting to the point where I just don't care anymore. Nobody put a gun to your head and made you do that. For the most part, there are probably some exceptions. But you're going to sit there like a little child, and you're going to cry and whine just like a little child, and the rest of you will enable them by saying, well, oh, we better give him a little bit of money. No, you're not helping him by doing that. What he needs is a cold dose of reality, like a bucket of ice water right in the face. Like, no, we're not going to help you anymore. And if you starve to death, then that's your problem. Say, Bruce, that's awful harsh. Yes, it is. But like I said when we talked about defense, when we bombed the Japanese, we didn't do it because we hated Japanese. We did it to end the war because millions upon millions would have died otherwise. When you got these people out there that simply will not work, they're just going to stand there with their hand out. You're not helping them by giving them a handout. You're enabling them. And you need to be prosecuted. More on that in a little bit, too. I had a Mexican guy, or he's a Mexican immigrant. He was an illegal immigrant, and say, "Well, Bruce, you're picking on." No. Hey, my fiance is Colombian, so don't go there. The guy happened to be from Mexico, and he came up to me and admitted that he was an illegal alien. And he said, "I need some help. I need somebody to deport me." And he just approaches me out of the blue. He said, "I'm here illegally. I need to be deported," because he's about froze to death. Folks. I saw a man where I work one time, and it was late at night, and I'm walking around our facilities, and there's a guy laying there. I thought he was dead, and it was in the dead of winter, and I started pushing this guy, trying to wake him up. He wouldn't move, and I was able to detect there was breath, so I knew he wasn't dead. He just didn't want to move, and it had to be 20 below zero, and he just laid down on the sidewalk and went to sleep. You're going to wake up dead that way one of these days, folks. I've had guys, you walk up... there's a filling station over on Boniface. I won't name which one. I walked up, and there's a guy sitting there with his feet in the parking lot, sitting on the curb, rolling a joint right there in front of God and the world. Anchorage, do you think that they respect your laws? You come up with new laws and expect them to respect those laws when you won't enforce the ones that you've got? What do you think they're going to do? You'll enforce laws against law-abiding citizens that happen to make a mistake, but these people that are flouting the law as they are, you won't do anything. And you won't allow the cops to do anything. This is all part of the plan, I believe. We are being pushed into absolute anarchy, and we're almost there. One kid on the video I saw, he was dressed in a suit and tie, living in a tent, and he said, "I've been wearing this for a month." It's like, well, at least he's dressing sharp for a bum. And you'd think, well, he's dressed in a suit and tie. Is he trying to find work? No, he's up here because he was afraid he was going to get in trouble in the lower 48 for smoking pot and whatnot. So he came up here where it's legal, where he can stay out in the woods and smoke pot for 7 years until the statute of limitations runs out, and then he can go back down there. And you're footing the bill, Anchorage, because I'll guarantee you at some point you're giving this guy money. Now, there are those that have mental, physical issues, and some that have mental issues, and a lot of times that stems from alcohol or fetal alcohol syndrome. But when you get these people like that, they admitted, we're just out here to get drunk and get high. And you give them money, you're enabling that crime. It's not a crime. It's a crying shame, but you're enabling them. So you haven't got a kick coming, as Dad used to say. But I'm going to tell you this, to all the homeless people, if any of you are sitting in a library and happen to read this or see this, we're sick and tired of stepping around you. We're sick and tired of stepping over your bodies, stepping over your defecation that you leave in the street, and avoiding where you peed on the wall. And we're sick and tired of seeing you having sex out in wide open. We're sick of it. But the government isn't. That's why they're not doing anything about it. I wonder how much money they're getting from the federal government to help, that they're not spending to help, but they're getting the money. So they want to keep those homeless people there. There's a reason behind it. Folks, follow the money. Okay, so fixes. Well, I saw this one gentleman, he's a Yupik fellow from Bethel, and he came to Anchorage to find work, but he couldn't find work, which I find strange. I'm not sure how old that video was, but he became homeless because he just couldn't get by. And although the native folks do get a stipend every month, and I wish I was getting that stipend, that's still not enough to rent a place and live on. However, there are homeless shelters that you could access. So I kind of can feel it for that guy, because he did come here for the right reason, but he's not accessing the services that are out there that are available to him, I don't think. Now, I might be wrong about that, and if I am, I hope the guy will forgive me. But people like that, I want to help them, because he really is striving to do the right thing. I believe he is. He didn't seem to be drunk. He just was like, I'm in a bad situation here, and here I am. I was here in Palmer, and the guy I'm going to mention, a lot of you have seen. I'm leaving, I just picked up my mail, and I'm driving away, and there's a guy standing there with a cardboard sign that said, "Anything helps. God bless you." And I pulled up and I said, "Are you looking for work?" And the guy says, "Well, I am, but if it's the right kind of work." I said, "All right." And I said, "Here we have every store, every restaurant in this town has a sign in the window that says help wanted." "Well, I don't know. I blah, 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 blah." And I said, "So in other words, what you're saying is you want me to go to work and slave so I can come here and give you money so you can go get drunk?" And he started kind of chuckling, trying to make out like, and I told him off. I told him how I felt about him. If you give that guy money, shame on you. Shame on you, because you're enabling him. You're not helping him. Try it sometime. Say, "You know what? I'm going to go here and get you some food, or I'll take you out to a restaurant, but I'm not going to give you money. If you want to give money, go to the St. Francis shelter. Give them money. They run a good soup kitchen. These people can get food. If they need food, they can get food. But if you're enabling their habits, shame on you." If they are a severe case, i.e. heroin and all that kind of stuff, yeah, they need to get help, real help. And regardless how they got there, these people need help. But the help is available out there for them. You got the people, they want to stay stoned all the time. They don't want help. And I don't want to help them. If they won't allow us to help them, then that's on them. But we have an issue with vagrancy. A few years ago, I can't remember who the mayor of Anchorage was at the time, but they passed a law that said that you cannot panhandle. It's against the law to panhandle, and you'll get ticketed. And then some judge struck it down, said no, that's their right to panhandle. So they came up with another one, said you're not allowed to pay panhandlers, and you'll be ticketed if you are caught paying a panhandler. I believe that's the way the law went. But did that stop them? No. It was a good effort, but it didn't get the job done. I mean, sitting here crying about it and saying this is what should have been done or that should have worked, that doesn't fix anything. Here a while back, I was at, I believe, Home Depot, and I saw a sign over the manager's door that said, "Find a way to yes." We have got to get away from this whiny, childish, "Well, we tried." Trying don't mean anything. Where I come from, the only thing that counts is results. Good intentions don't mean a thing. Good intentions can get you killed. It's time that we started taking this a little bit more seriously. And I say that because, yes, there are some that are truly destitute, and I want to see them helped. But the people who pay taxes here deserve to be able to take their kid for a walk in the park, for crying out loud, and not to have to worry about getting a needle in their kid's foot. You need to demand better from your government, but you won't. You'll send the same people to City Hall. You'll send the same people to the mayor's office, to the House and the Senate and the governor's mansion. You'll send the same people, knowing that they're going to do the same things and they're not going to make a bit of change, but you do it every time. Hate me all you want to, you can't prove me wrong. Upon the release, you put these people, what I'd like to see happen is for them to pass a law, then enforce the law, that if you're out here on the street, we catch you camping in the park, you will be arrested. However, we're not just going to throw you in a jail and forget about you. Have a particular facility, so we're going to send you here. You'll be housed in a decent housing. You will probably have a roommate because you don't have a right to pick and choose. But you will be taken care of. You're going to get 3 hots and a cot, and you will get counseling. You'll get drug treatment, and we will help you to find a job. We'll get you some decent clothes. We'll get you cleaned up. We'll teach you a skill if need be. Man, they got trade schools all over the place that'll help them. So if somebody really does want to get out of that situation, they can. They just don't want to. Now, pick them up once and then go back to it. All right. Or shame on you. Pick you up the second time and you do it again. Shame on me. Pick you up a third time and you do it. You're gone. We ship you out of the state. Send you somewhere else. So you can't do that, Bruce. Oh, yeah? Governor DeSantis is sure shipping the illegal aliens away. Yeah, I tell you what, if you went down into Anchorage and you had a message that you blast out, say, all the homeless people, we are going to pay for tickets to send you to Hawaii with a proviso that you can never come back. Or we're sending you to Southern California where it's nice and warm. But you must swear that you will never come back to Alaska. How many takers do you think you'd have? So what say you, Governor, Senators, Representatives, Mayors, Councilmen, and Assemblymen? What say you? You people are so busy blaming each other that nothing is ever, ever, ever done. There are a whole lot of people that are out there, and they're homeless people who are there simply because they're bums, and they leave their garbage and their mess everywhere. And in one case I saw on a video right downtown, right on 4th Avenue, these boneheads started a fire right in front of the building to stay warm, right up against the building. So how do we fix this? First thing that needs to happen is you clowns in government need to stop acting like little children and stop playing the blame game and start taking some responsibility. Start getting back to a little bit of the buck stops here. What if we did something like that? Wouldn't that be a novel idea? If people that we elect to government positions, instead of using that for a stepping stone to the next position, you actually did it to do some good for your neighborhood and for your city. Wouldn't that be cool? We don't really do that much, though, do we, Madam Representative? Yeah. Mr. Senator, yeah. We're watching. We're not missing a trick. And we're sick and tired of the old excuse that, well, Bruce, it simply isn't that easy. Yeah, it is. It really is just that easy. You just won't get off your lazy hind end and do the job that we're paying you to do, that we elected you to do, that you promised that you would do. There's the problem. You coddle these people. And in doing so, I saw a pastor one time. I think he's a pastor. He's a preacher in any case. He was saying, you know what? We try to be so nice to people, and which is good. Being nice is good. Being friendly is good. But sometimes you have to give people the bold, hard facts. Because if you don't, you might just pet them right into hell. And that's what we're doing with these people. We're petting them right into being destitute for the rest of their lives. You people in government, we are sick and tired of your stupid, lame excuses. And that's all it is. Excuses. We're sick and tired of it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And I'm going to keep this on the front burner in front of the voters in Anchorage and here in the Matsu and eventually throughout this entire state, because you people have been lying to us for so long that you assume that we're stupid enough to take it and roll over for it. Now, I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to get into this in another blog because I love our Native people from the bottom of my heart. I've got Native blood. It's Cherokee, but it's blood, and it's real. And I love our people, and I don't want them to lose their culture. That's why I'm such a stickler for languages. Learn your language. Here's the problem. You people out there in the villages, the Democrats will pat you on the head. Oh, that's a good widow Eskimo. You can't take care of yourself like you've been doing for 10,000 years in the worst conditions in the world. You can't take care of yourself, so we'll do it for you, wink, wink. And you Republicans take it for granted that you'll never have their vote. Therefore, you throw away their vote. I'm going to shame you publicly because I see what's going on. Those people are starting to catch on too, and I'm loving it. They're going to make you squirm like a worm and squeal like an eel. You people on the city councils, you people in the mayor's offices. I could think of one exception, that being Mayor Edna. Possibly the mayor here in Palmer. But for the most part, ain't none of you clean. This filth is all over you. And frankly, it's all over the voter because we didn't vote you out. We're going to fix that. There are shelters for the people that, that they really need shelter. And you can sit there and say, well, I don't like being around people. But you know what? We don't care about that anymore. We don't care what your excuses are. They're there. And it's time for you to start taking advantage of it because you don't have a right to pollute our streets. You don't have a right to pollute our parks. Those are there for families to enjoy. And if you're too blind and too stupid to see it and you people in government are too cowardly to say something about it, that's a lick on you. But we will replace you. I can guarantee you that. If you would rather live in a tent and freeze your buns off all winter long and sit out here in a park right here in the city, it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to move on. We don't need you. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. I don't pity you. Those who are there against, because of situations that are beyond their control, I pity them. My heart goes out to them. But you people that are there because you just want to sit out there and smoke your crack or whatever it is you do out there, drink your whiskey, I don't feel sorry for you. But if I can help you out of it, I will. If you really want help, I'll be glad to help you. But I'm not going to go too far out of my way because when you prove to me you don't deserve my help, I won't help you again. I suspect that the people of Anchorage would happily put up the money to put a lot of you people on planes and send you to Hawaii where you can just sit on a beach, and as long as you got a line in the water, they won't make you leave. You can camp right on the beach there indefinitely as long as you got a line in the water, and who knows, you might catch a fish to eat. And it's nice and warm, and there's fruit in the jungle there. I would put up for your ticket to get you out of here. Maybe that's something we need to start doing. Coming to the close, I met a gentleman in church, and he called himself Homeless Bill. And Homeless Bill, his shoes were falling apart, and I just happened to have a brand new pair of Sorels, whatever, that the Army had issued me that I'd never used and it was probably never going to use. I don't think I would even put them on my feet, but they fit him, so I gave them to him. And I started talking to him and his wife. And he was bragging to me how about, I believe he'd been on TV, and he said, yeah, Mark Begich pulled me up on stage. This is when Mark Begich was the mayor. He pulled me up on stage and was talking to me, and I said, really? I said, what did he do to lift you out of your situation? He said, oh, I'd just rather just be Homeless Bill. And he spoke volumes. People like that, they don't want help. They just want to go on and be a bum. I didn't say homeless, I said a bum. There are exceptions. And I'm fixing to close with this. I met a man on one of my job sites who, his name's Willie. I don't know his last name, and if I did, I wouldn't speak it. But Willie, if you do get wind of this, or if your family does, get in contact with me because I lost your email address. But he came in, and he admitted to me that he was homeless. And the guy was dressed sharp. He looked sharp. He was clean shaven. And he had cologne on. He had obviously just taken a bath. And he said, I've been homeless for such and such amount of time, but I finally got me a job, and I'm working my way out of that homeless gig. We could do a lot more of that. We could make do with a lot more people like that. It can be done. But as the people in government are right now, ain't nothing going to change. And until you change those people, I don't mean just get them better people to work with. Clean house, get rid of all of them. Say, who we going to elect, Bruce? And it's like I said the other day. When you get up, if you agree with what I'm saying here, you get up and you look in the shaven mirror, that's probably the person that needs to run. So, pray much. Pray much, Anchorage, Alaska, America. Pray much. You're not helping these people by handing them money every time they turn around. Good night, everyone. God bless you. May God bless this country. May He bless this state. Good night.
Alaska, you are strong. You are invincible. Now act like you deserve better.